guys, it is a brisk and chilly morning. We've still got a breeze, and I'll apologize in advance because lots of chainsaw activity is still going on this weekend because of all the storm damage. So back to the topic at hand. I'm getting ready to do a makeover on this corner, on all of these container plantings. It looks a little bit different every year based on kind of what my color palette is, how many plants I may have lost over the winter, or what plants I want to highlight. So primarily this year, I'm really into geraniums, both scented geraniums and pelargoniums. And then I did lose, as you guys know, I did lose some evergreens in these big pots. So I'm going to tell you what my strategy is for a couple of things in terms of what plants I'm going to be putting in these planters. But also, let's start out with a big question that I think a lot of new gardeners have and even experienced gardeners have, and that is the question of, do you use all new soil when you're planting new things, or can you reuse some of the old soil? So number one, this pot was filled all the way to the bottom, and as always, you guys, I put debris at the bottom. Okay, now, but it also had some old dirt in it. So what I did was take that old dirt out that had been in there for a while, and Stuart, you will, if you will very carefully turn around and show people that what I do is I just throw that old dirt, and this previously used dirt is really not a very bad quality. Nevertheless, I put the old dirt of whatever quality onto a tarp like this. And then what I do is I separate, and by the way, you never want to reuse any kind of soil that had a diseased plant in it. So if there was a plant in it that was very diseased or just riddled with spider mite or something of that nature, then discard that soil in its entirety. But what we're going to do here is kind of amend and supplement the old soil to get it looking good again. So I'm going to remove any sections that are just really root bound. In here, I've got some old bulbs that I had planted that rotted in our very, very bad winter. I'm going to kind of just separate that. Any other kinds of, well, let's just say organic material that doesn't look of good quality, like that. I'm going to separate that out. Now, if it's not diseased, what I could do is put this at the bottom, very bottom of another pot as part of my theory of just using garden debris to fill up volume at the bottom of the container. But this here, I separate out this stuff and it doesn't look too bad. And I've already done this on the soil I already have in this big grounding pot. And Stuart, if you'll show, it's one of two. There's another one over there. So this area is very kind of disrupted right now. So what do I do then? Well, I'm going to mix about 50% the old dirt with 50% new potting soil. And this is all brand new stuff I have in here. And this is why it's good to work on one of these tarps or shower curtains. I use it as a tarp that you get at the dollar store. So I'm going to kind of mix this. I might do it a little bit less than 50-50 because the quality of what I took out was still pretty good. There's some more of that. So see how good, nice, and fluffy that is? And by the way, it's helpful when you're getting out the compressed soil in a container. I find one of these hand picks really handy. You can kind of just chop it up and then remove it and put it on the tarp. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to change my philosophy of what I normally do. Over the years, I have had a number of different things in here, but primarily the one that had the most longevity was I had two huge boxwoods in here. They were in here for probably a dozen years, 15 years. And finally they just kind of started to show their wear and tear. They kind of lost their form. And so what I did was remove those, and then you guys probably saw me planting some beautiful Southern Living Oakland hollies in here, which were in here for 2 to 3 years. They would have done just fine if we hadn't had that -13 Arctic blast. Now, as a rule, when you're planting something in a container, you want it to be cold hardy to 2 zones below what you are. So I'm in 7B, so ideally I would plant things in containers that were hardy down to zone 5. Now, do I kind of cheat on that a little bit? Of course I do, and most of the time I have good success. But this year, because it was just so harsh, I'm going to do something that's a little bit different. I'm not going to come in here with fully mature specimens like I have before that were already, 3 to 4 to 5 feet tall, which came in really large container size, definitely 3-4 gallon or more. I'm going to start out with smaller varieties this time because they'll have a better chance of really growing in place and maturing in place and adapting a little bit better. So I've got some baby gem boxwoods from Southern Living, and I'm going to put those in here. And as always, I want to make sure that I really break up that root ball so it doesn't grow in a circle. This is something I've shown you guys before. And what this does is encourage this root ball to not only not grow in a circle, but it will encourage the generation of new, tinier feeder roots that will then easily expand out into the soil. And I'm pretty aggressive about doing this, you guys. It's still spring. I would not do this in the dead of summer because that would probably traumatize this plant too much. But in the spring, it will have time to recover, and in the long run, it's definitely going to be better for it. The other thing is, I can afford to get by with a smaller plant because everything around it is pretty mature, so I don't think it will look out of scale. So I'm going to plant this so that where it meets the root ball is about level with the pot. And I'm going to add a little bit of Osmocote. This is a slow release fertilizer. I'll put a link below. I'm just going to add some of that. And in pots, I am not nearly so particular about using an organic fertilizer or not. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is add a little bit of this Osmocote to my new soil. Now, I'm going to just take some of this soil. This is very much a how-to, you guys. How to reuse previously used soil. How to think about what you're going to put in your containers. And how to beautifully make over an existing space. And typically, of course, you want to make sure that, good morning, Mr. Bird. You want to make sure that you have the profile, the best looking profile forward, and then over time, if it looks like it's starting to not grow evenly, then I will torque this pot. It's heavy, but it's not that difficult to rotate it so that it gets even light on all sides. Okay, so there's that pot. That didn't take any time at all. And I will do the other one a little bit later. Okay, now Stuart, I'm going to ask you to step back. And we're working in tight quarters here, you guys. Now I'm going to replant this pot. Now this is one of my favorite ways to explain an assembling and a good looking grouping of container plantings. And that's what I call my kind of fairy tale method of pot congregation. Number one, I've got my Papa Bear pot, then I have a Mama Bear pot, and then I may have more or less of Baby Bear pots. That way, you know that they will pretty much all go together in terms of height, which will create good layering. They are all in the same family for the most part in terms of material and style, and that way you can easily put together a grouping of pots that will be very visually appealing overall and harmonious with the garden. Okay, so I've done the same thing here with this pot. I already had some soil in it that I had done in a 50-50 blend. I'm going to add a little bit of Osmocote to this. And now this year, since it helps me when I'm designing my containers to think about kind of what my thematic is, and since my thematic this year is going to be geraniums, then that kind of helps me think through what I want to put into the containers. Probably one of my favorite summer colors to work with is this wonderful dark pink, dark and light pink combo. These are angel wing begonias, and they just really look beautiful, and I love this color. So that's going to be kind of my color inspiration. Now I already did one planting of geraniums yesterday. Now right now this looks lanky and kind of scruffy, but I promise you with some feeding and some warmer temperatures, this is going to get huge. These are all pelargoniums or geraniums that I overwintered in the greenhouse, brought them back out. They're very much alive. It's that beautiful color that I like. And then I've added some scented geraniums at the base. So I will continue to kind of keep this pinched so it fills out, and it really will be beautiful in very short order. On the other side, I've got some golden oregano. Stuart, if you can show right there, I've got some golden oregano that will spill out over this side. It looks a little scruffy now, but with some feeding and some warm temperatures, it'll be just fine. I can't wait to show it to you after it's already matured. Okay, so back to this pot. So I'm going to put in some really gorgeous scented geraniums. Now some of these are very tall and kind of lanky, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to address that. So, and I'm going to have to go back. My friend Monica is my source for scented geraniums. I'm going to put a link to her website below. If you're local in the area, she would be a good source. You often ask me where you can get scented geraniums, and she is my source. So this is in a container of just a gallon size, and what I'm wanting to do is get some verticality to this container. So I'm going to plant this one, and I believe that one, and then I'll show you how I'm going to support them. So I'm going to take this out of its container. Now, I could leave it in its container. This is what you want, you guys. This is perfectly grown, but see how it's not root bound? I don't even have to break up that root ball because it will just adapt to this soil just beautifully without me doing anything to it. Okay, now you stay there for a minute. Behave yourself. I've got another one over here that is also very tall. Okay, I'm loving the way this looks already. Now this one is in a larger container. Take it out of its pot. I'm sorry this is taking so long, you guys, but hopefully you always want to know the details of how things come together. Okay, so I'm going to put this one in here as well. Make this guy cooperate. Let's see, do I want this? I think that's what I want to do. These guys are going to have to get and grow in place for them to do exactly what I want them to do. But I have a feeling that they will cooperate, because here's going to be my trick. Now, what I really wanted was another metal tutor like that one, because I've got one there and I've got one here, over here, Stuart. But I didn't have any, and I wanted to go ahead and get these planted. So what I'm gonna do, my philosophy of just using what I already have, is I cut 3, since I had to cut back so many Nandina canes, I cut 3 Nandina canes. And these are gonna be my support. So I'm gonna put those in place. To make these guys stand up and fly right. And what I do is I kind of get them in place, and then later I'll torque them, I'll torture them a little bit to get them exactly where I want them to be. Now, that is supporting them, at least temporarily, like that, till I get my soil in. Again, this is my 50-50 blend. It's always helpful to have what I call a mise en place strategy, where you have everything that you need right at hand. Now, do I always do that? Heck no. Stuart's laughing because he knows how I rock and roll. Heck no. But I said ideally. So we're going to pretend like this is ideal. Okay, so I'm going to get this in place. Oh my gosh, I wish you guys could smell these geraniums. And I'll find out what type they are from Monica, and I will mark them and let you know. I am ignorant about all of my different varieties. I know I love them. I know they all smell incredible. But I'm working on becoming a connoisseur of scented geraniums, let's put it that way. Okay, I think that is going to be fabulous. Stuart, if you could show people what it looks like. I've broken off a couple of pieces, and I do try to always save any of those pieces. A lot of times I just give them back to Monica, and wherever I cut, it's going to come out and be a lot bushier. And these are kind of just a little bit lanky too, because they've been in her greenhouse. So I love the way this gives me height. So now here's one other flourish. I'm going to take this one out for right now. That I'm going to do that I think will be really beautiful. And then, you guys, I will finish planting the other pots in this congregation, which is just a little bit more of the same. And then tomorrow, when I do my thrifting video, I'll show you what it looks like, and I'll also put lots of stills in the community tab if you're a Facebook or if you're a YouTube member. I'll definitely do that for you guys. Now, if you would use these scented geraniums in a different way, if you grow them, if you are really infatuated by geraniums this year like I am, please let me know in the comments below. I am gonna do, I'm hoping to do anyway, time permitting, something of what I call a geranium theater, where I'm going to put lots of geraniums all together in one place. Now, this is a beautiful heucherella from Southern Living. I believe this one, let's see which variety it is. It's Alabama Sunrise. I thought that's what it was. So I'm going to take some of the soil off of this. Again, this is just beautiful, not compressed roots. I'm only taking this dirt off so I can get it to fit in here. And then I'm going to have this spill out over the edge. And I think that is going to be gorgeous. And that will hide some of the lankiness at the bottom. I think I'm going to put a couple of these in, you guys. And you'll notice, Stuart, if you don't mind panning over in that direction, I showed you yesterday, I believe, one of my winners from the winter of last year's, that golden barberry. Stuart was looking at me like, what are you going to talk about? Where am I supposed to go? To the golden barberry. And this, as I look out my kitchen window, this golden heucherella will be in the foreground of that golden barberry. So I'll have a wonderful color echo and color repetition, which I think will be spectacular. Do what? Oh yeah, show them the viburnum. You can't ever get enough of the viburnum. Stuart will tell you that is the most asked about plant in my garden, I believe. Okay, you guys, I'm going to put my third pot of this in. But first, I want to tell you what else I'm going to do here, and then I'll close this out and then show you the end result of the makeover tomorrow. So you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned. So what else am I going to do? I'm going to plant all of these angel wing begonias in this saucer planter in the front. I've got a small cone baby gem Southern Living boxwood that I'm going to plant in here, and that will repeat the glossiness of all of this. And then something else I'm going to do, which will be a whole different video, and I'll show you how I do it. You may recall from last year's videos that I had hanging baskets right here. I think I'm going to do that again with one exception, and that's that this year I'm going to use hanging baskets that are from my own QVC line. So I will let you know exactly when my show will be on QVC, where you can get all of the products, but this is something else that's in the product line. I've never been able to find hanging baskets this large in any of my regular places that I shop. So, and also in line with my Mama Bear, Papa Bear, Baby Bear, they'll come in threes and different finishes. These are large, these are massive, and they'll come in threes, and I'm going to hang some of them from this tree. And then you guys, it gets this wonderful little, what's called a romance card, a little card from me to you that talks about my Signature Touches garden line. So, more deets to come. Thank you for helping me plant and do my work this morning. I can't wait to show you what it looks like when it's all finished. So I'm going to finish up here, and you guys have a great Saturday.